This morning, looking glam there in your purple this morning. But let's talk Trump. Let's talk the visit to the UK. Just firstly, we understand there'll be protests against his visit. Some people are planning a protest, Natalie. What are they protesting about, really? What are people upset about with Trump in the UK?
Well, there are going to be several protests throughout his three-day state visit to the UK. Beginning today, there are several protests planned. A number of rights groups are planning on unveiling several things throughout the day, but a big protest planned this evening outside Buckingham Palace just ahead of that state banquet. But the real protest takes place on Tuesday, where two coalitions, the Stop the Trump coalition and a second one that are very anti-Trump, will launch a march, essentially, beginning at Trafalgar Square, walking all the way down through Whitehall and eventually ending up outside Parliament. What they're upset about, it's several different things, to be quite honest with you, but largely it's to do with climate change, the fact that the US has pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord, and also to do with the fact that many believe that Donald Trump and his way, and certainly his way in the past, has been misogynistic. All of those things come to the fore when it comes to these protests. So it's not over one single issue, although I have to say that climate change certainly seems the largest one on the agenda. And we know that there are lots of protests planned throughout this visit. We've seen that they're going to blow up this blimp of a baby Trump and essentially follow him around, is what the protesters are saying, with this baby that's a difficult word to say, baby blimp of Donald Trump dressed as a baby, of course, and essentially follow the president around throughout the visit to show that they aren't very happy about the fact that the UK has welcomed him here with all of the pomp and ceremony that you would expect from an official state visit.
Okay, but he's coming in, and what will he be talking about? Already, when he left the US, he was saying he's got a message about Brexit for the UK, how to do a Brexit deal and take a hard stance on it. And there's that small matter of the Huawei technology company of China.
Yeah, absolutely. Brexit is something that he has really waded into with a number of journalists recently ahead of this visit, saying, of course, that he admires Boris Johnson, who is one of the possible candidates for Prime Minister here in the UK, but also how he admires Nigel Farage, who is the leader of the populist Brexit Party, and saying that Nigel Farage should be invited to the table of Brexit talks because he thinks he could do a better job at it. Trump has also said things like that he would not pay the divorce bill that's been put on the table by the UK and EU when the UK exits the European Union, of course, and essentially saying that if the UK cannot strike a good deal with the EU on Brexit, it should just leave without a deal. Now, this has brought in a lot of criticism. Many people here don't believe that a US president should essentially wade into domestic political affairs of the UK like he has done. But of course, the US president not always following protocol when it comes to these type of things. We know, of course, that he will be meeting with UK Prime Minister Theresa May tomorrow. They are likely to discuss Brexit, but also, again, likely to discuss climate change. So lots of political wranglings going to be on the agenda, not least, of course, as you've said, Huawei, with the US very much against the UK using any Huawei infrastructure in its 5G networks. And we've had leaks from the British government recently to suggest that it might well do so when it comes to its non-sensitive infrastructure. And no doubt Donald Trump trying to convince the Prime Minister that that would not be a good idea. But, of course, a lot of people say that their meeting tomorrow is really going to be just face value because UK Prime Minister Theresa May has just a few days left in that job.
Yeah, she doesn't want to be bothered anymore. Finally, Buckingham Palace, I mean, that's happening as well. I guess as part of the state visit, there's a British royal treatment awaiting Donald and Melania.
Yes, absolutely. It's all the pomp and ceremony that you would normally expect from a state visit. What's slightly different about this one, though, is that normally the official ceremony, the official welcome takes place at Horse Guards Parade. This time it's going to take place in the private grounds of Buckingham Palace, where Donald Trump will meet the Queen. He'll also meet Prince Charles and his wife Camilla. After that, they will go to a lunch with the Queen. Donald Trump and his wife Melania will then go to Westminster Abbey with the Duke of York. And of course, all of this will culminate in the big event, which is the state banquet later on this evening, where both the US President Donald Trump and the Queen will give a speech. But there are a few faces not attending that state banquet, including the leader of the opposition here in the UK, Jeremy Corbyn, but also the leader of the Liberal Democrats Party, Vince Cable, and indeed the Speaker of the House of Commons, who have all said that they will not be attending that state banquet, with Jeremy Corbyn saying that because of the way Donald Trump treats climate change and because of concerns over his misogynistic behaviour, he doesn't think it's appropriate to attend such an event, and he doesn't think it's appropriate for the UK to roll out the red carpet as it is doing for this state visit.
All this controversial visit by Donald Trump to the UK. Thank you very much, Natalie Powell, our UK correspondent in London.